Hey, what's up, Raid community? Jay Warrior here, back with the Hydra video. This is the second rotation, and I'm going to talk about how to set up a Hydra team. If you're struggling with Hydra, this video might be very helpful for you. We're going to talk about some do's and don'ts in Hydra, how to set up a team, and that kind of stuff. So, for me, I always like to go with 2 damage dealers, a reviver if you need it, and your support. If there's the head of decay, then you're also going to want a provoker. But if he's not in there, you don't need a provoker. So I replaced him with someone who can help me out with the fear head, that head of torment, and that's going to be my Tatura. He does some pretty decent damage, so he'll help out a lot. We got UDK in there for damage mitigation. Also, in case, the head of decay comes around, he's going to help provoke. We got Artak. He's going to be an HP burn, basically all around damage. If you do not have an AoE HP burner, it's okay. Just use someone who's really fast. We're looking like 250, 260 speed that can lay down single target HP burns. Someone like, Geo would work really good for that spot. But the only thing is with Geo, you got to make sure that they're going to be able to do damage to you. So, say like if you're not getting a lot of damage because your defense is really high or something like that, then that reflect damage isn't really going to do a whole lot of damage back to them. So that's something to keep in mind. We got Mithrala in there for the cleanses. Tatura is also going to do a separate job of putting down block debuffs. So that way they're not going to be able to put the poisons on us and the leech and stuff like that to help us out. We got Wukong. He's going to go ahead and lay down the block buffs on them, trying to prevent this poison giving head, the head of Blight, trying to make sure he's not going to lay down poison clouds because that will be a very powerful block debuff on their team if they can actually land that. Now, what I would do when setting up a team is first of all go into your champion filter and start looking for the things that you want. So if you want, say, an HP burn, you go ahead and you click that. It's going to show all the champions that you have. If you put include vaults, then it'll show all of your champions who do HP burn. And you can go ahead and click through each one of these and see which one is going to be the best for you and go from there. Once you got your HP burn set up, then I would definitely go with Rathalos. He does a lot of damage. He's going to bring some pain. The next thing I would do is go for my cleanser and remove debuffs. So this is going to show all the champions that are going to remove debuffs for you. So like Ugo, Doom Priest, Eris, Reliquary Tender, Spirit Host. These are all really, really good debuffers. We got Skathic here. He'll put in some work as well. And we're going to make sure that we have enough support that's going to help us stay alive. That's our main objective. 1, do damage. 2, stay alive. All right, so we got a team set up. It's got everything that we need in order to make this work. Now I'm going to take this off auto to start, and we're going to start talking about each one of the heads, what they do, how to mitigate them, things like that is all going to come up in this video. This is normal Hydra. I'm probably not going to keep this key. I'm probably going to reset it during the fight, so that way I can let the auto go, and I'm going to show you the difference between me doing it manually and the auto battle, so you can see the differences and how the teams are going to react without you pulling the trigger, and why it is better to manual if you're going to do Hydra. So we got the first head, the head of Blight. First of all, he can lay down that mark of the Hydra. Basically, any of the champions that's going to get this after 20 turns, they're going to be devoured by the head. Now, I'm not exactly sure on how to tell which one of the heads are going to, uh, do the swallowing. You might have to watch when this goes up, who has the turn available in order to lay that down. But I haven't worked out the mechanics of that yet. So once devoured, the Hydra head will begin digesting the champion, and a 5-turn digestion cooldown will begin. And you can save your champion by attacking the head that has devoured them. And if you deal enough damage to the head before they are fully digested, you will set them free and they will rejoin your team. If you don't, they will be consumed. Once consumed, they cannot be revived or returned to battle. So free your champs as soon as you can. Once a champion has been devoured, or if a marked champion dies, another champion will be marked. There's another way around this. It's a skill called Taunt. Basically, if you have I think it's Emek or Ruark, even Druidin, they can all put up a taunt skill. Say if this person, like Wukong, say if he has the mark of the Hydra, and he's at 4 turns of these guys going before he is swallowed, and you throw up the taunt, they won't be able to digest him. So it actually stops them to be, attacked and swallowed. Now, each subsequent time a champion is marked, the countdown until devouring decreases by 1 turn to a minimum of 2 turns. Each subsequent time a champion is devoured, the digestion count decreases by 1 turn to a minimum of 2 turns. So what that's saying is when this actually gets going, they are going to, instead of a 5-turn, it's going to go to a 2-turn. And decapitation, once a Hydra's head HP hits 0, it will be decapitated and become an exposed neck. That's where all the damage is going to start coming from Hydra. Now, his actual skills. Dripping Jaws attacks all enemies, places 3 5% poison debuffs for 2 turns, also has a 75% chance of placing a leech debuff for 2 turns. And decapitation effect inflicts damage to all heads under HP burn debuffs when this head is decapitated. And then his second one, Leeching Blight, attacks all enemies, places a 5% poison debuff for 3 turns, instantly deals damage from all poison debuffs on each enemy under a leech debuff. The next one is the worst skill that he has for you, but the best skill for all the Hydra. Places a poison cloud buff on all Hydra heads for 2 turns. This buff cannot be removed or transferred. So if he's not under block buffs, any of them, and this goes down, then when Wukong goes to strip, he can't strip this poison cloud. Now he'll be able to put the block debuffs down, but he won't be able to strip that, and you still won't be able to put any other debuffs on him while the poison is still in that poison cloud state. And then his passive, this head receives double damage from HP burn debuffs and decreases the damage all Hydra heads take from AoE attacks by 10%. And damage from skills that scale off enemy max HP cannot exceed 10% of the head's max HP when attacking this head. Damage taken in one tick from HP burn debuffs cannot exceed 40,000. And then it's also down here that he's immune to stun, freeze, sleep, provoke. All of the masteries cannot exceed 50,000 HP damage. So like if you have reflect damage or war mastery, war master mastery, or the giant slayer mastery, those are going to be capped at 50,000 HP per attack. Now the head of torment, this one is going to be the fear head. He's also going to do the same skill for the devouring and consumption. And so his first skill, Spectral Jaws, attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing fear debuff for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be blocked or resisted. After the first attack, attacks all enemies under fear or true fear debuffs. And then whenever this head is decapitated, removes all fear and true fear debuffs from all champions and then places a perfect veil for 2 turns. And then this one attacks all enemies. Damage increases by 25% for each debuff an enemy is under. So this Cursed Storm, if you have, the poisons from the Blighthead or something like that, then it's going to increase this one's damage. You want to watch that. That's why it's important to definitely have cleansers and block debuffs on your guys and stuff like that. And then his passive. When attacked by enemies not under Perfect Veil buffs, places a True Fear debuff on them for 1 turn, and this debuff cannot be blocked or resisted. And damage decreases the damage taken from poison debuffs by 90%. We're looking at the same, you can't do big max HP, enemy max HP hits. It's going to cap the mastery damage as well. And he's going to be immune to all these stun, freeze, sleep, provoke, block active skills, block passive skills, fear, true fear, and petrification. Now the head of mischief, this is the misdirection head. He also has that Mark of the Hydra skill. His first skill, Thieving Jaws, attacks the enemy with the most buffs, steals all buffs from the target, and steals 50% of the target's turn meter. If there are multiple champions with the same number of buffs, this attack will target one of them at random. Will ignore Veil and Perfect Veil buffs. And decreases the turn meter of all Hydra heads by 100% whenever this head is decapitated. So it's a good, thing to go ahead and get this guy decapitated whenever you can. So his first one, he's going to steal buffs. His second one, he's going to take all the buffs that he stole and give them to everyone, all the other Hydra heads. So applies a buff spread effect, taking all buffs from his head and placing them on all heads. Changes the duration of all spread buffs to 2 turns. So say that if you have a block damage buff and he steals that, when it's 1 turn that he's going to, get it at, he's going to take, and it's going to be 2 turns on everyone when they actually receive the spread. So that's pretty dangerous. Watch out for that. It's always good to have a mischief chank, and right here, my UDK, he's a little bit slower than everyone else, so he tends to build up more buffs than everyone else. And if you keep everyone blocked buffs, he can't steal them, and Wukong won't strip buffs to make him the target of the mischief head for the buff steal. So it'll keep everyone happy. Really, really happy. Now, his passive, Almighty Mischief, has a 75% chance of redirecting an enemy attack onto another random head. Will not occur if this head is under Hex debuff. So it's pretty important to bring a Hex dealer, whether it's through gear or someone like Mithrala, to spread that Hex. So that would be your choice. Vildrax also does a good job of that. Accountum, or I can't remember what his name is. Little Panther dude. And then decreases all damage all Hydra heads take from AoE attacks. Each one of the Hydra heads are going to have that same little damage mitigation for AoE. They're all going to have the enemy max HP cannot exceed 10%. And the HP burn cannot exceed 20,000 HP. The mastery deal, they're all going to be immune to these same debuffs. So that's the Mischief head. And now we're going to be going to the Wrath head here. He has that same Mark of the Hydra buff, or, attack, where he can swallow your champs. The head of Wrath, we're looking at his first skill, Gnash and Jaws. Attacks all enemies, places 50% decreased attack, debuff for 2 turns. A passive effect, each enemy hit received increases the vengeance counter by 1. So if you attack him, then you're going to see this. It's going to have a little number on it. If it gets to 15, you're in trouble. But we're going to show you how to stop the big damage from that as well. Whenever the vengeance counter reaches 15, places a vengeance buff, a block debuffs buff, and a 15% reflect damage buff on this head for 1 turn, then attacks all enemies. The vengeance counter resets every time it reaches 15. Enemy hits will not be counted while under vengeance buff. And then decapitation effect inflicts damage to all heads whenever this head is decapitated. If this head is decapitated while under vengeance buff, the damage inflicted to all heads increases, and there is a 25% chance of placing a leech debuff on all heads for 2 turns. Now this one, Furious Roar, attacks all enemies, places a provoke debuff for 1 turn. Also places a 50% increased attack buff on this head for 3 turns. Now if you have him where he can't, get a buff, if he's got his debuffs blocked, most of that won't happen. And then his passive, damage from the Almighty Wrath. Decreases the damage all Hydra heads take from AoE attacks by 10%. The same enemy max HP, HP burn. The masteries, all that's the same. He can't get any of these debuffs applied to him. Now this one, the Vengeance, increases the damage inflicted by 300%. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get this started now. I'm going to start this off on manual, show you a couple tricks that I know, and we'll go from there. So first of all, we're going to lay down Hex. Once we do that, we're going to block all the buffs. Oh, hold on. I'm going to restart this. Alright. So lay down the Hex. We're going to land the block debuffs, or block buffs. Then we're going to put everyone into Veil. Almost 200k damage on the first hit from Wrathy, which isn't bad because he's not under HP burn or weaken. Alright, we got our HP burn down, and we're going to lay down the shield and a continuous heal to try and make sure that we stay at 100% life if we can. We're going to focus most of our attacks on this Blighthead. And the reason for that is he's pretty vicious with the poison and the leech. If he can get that on us, then we're in trouble. Alright, we got some people under provoke here. And they're going to start adding to that counter, and we don't really like that. Since we have some poison debuffs on us, we're going to go ahead and lay down the cleanse. We're going to keep up the attack on the Blighthead here. Alright, we got a decreased defense down there. That should help with some damage here. Alright, I don't want to set this off right yet. I want to have Wrathy do it. Oh, he did it anyway. It's fine. Nice little hit from him. Although, it's not that much damage. It could be more if I had him on HP burn, drop defense, weaken. That would definitely up that damage a lot. As you can see, we got heads popping all over the place. Now, because the spearhead isn't out, that head of torment, I am not going to use the veil skill and the AoE on that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it to the A1. I want to make sure that I can keep that for when, the fearhead comes out. I'm going to make sure that I keep everyone under a shield too, because when this vengeance goes off, we like to make sure that we're protected. Alright, we got the head of Blight back. They swallowed Wrathy. But it's okay, he's about to get popped, so. Vengeance will be mine. Alright, now I did this on purpose. I let him get his poison cloud activated, and I'm going to show you why. So now we're going to try to debuff him with poison. You see, this one got poison, but I couldn't debuff him. And it's all because of this skill. With that, it's almost like having a block debuff up. That's their version of it. Now, I should address that we have a new Hydra head here. It's the Head of Suffering. So he's got that same mark of the Hydra. It's his first skill, Crippling Jaws, attacks all enemies, places a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns, and this debuff cannot be resisted. Will not place the weaken debuff on enemies with strengthened buffs. So someone like Mithrala or Deliana is really good to help stop the weaken on here. Decapitation effect. Places a shield buff on all enemy champions for 2 turns equal to 30% of their max HP when this head is decapitated. His next skill, Thirst for Pain. Places a 50% ally protection buff on all heads except this one for 2 turns, then places a 30% reflect damage buff on this head for 2 turns. Also places a provoke debuff for 1 turn on the enemy with the highest critical damage. And then his last skill, Share Suffering, attacks 1 enemy, places a pain link debuff for 3 turns, then grants this head an extra turn. And you'll see something that kind of looks like a mirror down here. And that's how you'll know that pain link is on. And his passive increases the res of all Hydra heads by 50. Decreases the damage all Hydra heads take from AoE attacks by 30% instead of the 10%. And decreases the damage taken from poison debuffs by 90%. Has that same enemy max HP skill, kind of a debuff on there. HP burn, the mastery ones. He's immune to all these debuffs as well. So that's the Head of Suffering. Now, I don't really need this anymore, but I definitely need the block debuffs. And see, I couldn't place the decreased attack on these two because they have the poison cloud. See, look at all these debuffs. But because that poison cloud was up, I couldn't land any of them. So that's why it's important to make sure that when this goes to no or 1, then you are ready to put down that block buffs with Wukong immediately. If not, then you're just going to be stuck. You're not going to be able to put no debuffs down on this guy or anyone that has the poison cloud. Sorry, I keep saying that, but I just want to stress that in your head that if you don't have that down, then you're just missing out on all kinds of damage that you can do to the hydra. Keep your guys with the shield if you can. Keep them with strengthen if you can, especially when this head of suffering is in. Keep them with some heals, shield, everything. And just make sure that this head of mischief isn't going to target anyone but a mischief tank. Now, because this head of blight isn't there, I don't really have to worry about the block buffs. And this guy already has his vengeance down. So I'm not really going to be missing anything if I just wait to throw this block debuffs down. This guy already has it, so we're good to go. We're just going to throw regular hits. Alright, we got the head of mischief back. I'm waiting for the head of decay come, so that way we can talk about him. But since the head of mischief's back, I'm definitely going to put them block buffs up there, so that way he can't steal anyone. And you notice he hasn't been trying because he won't be successful. So he's just been kind of leaving it alone. Which is okay. I'm not going to force him. But we got our torment head back. That's that fear head. So we're going to start placing the perfect veil down again. We're going to free our champ. And then we're going to lay down suppressive fire on this decapitated head. We got the blight head back. Which we need to make sure that now that he's back. We're going to have our shields back. We want to make sure that we keep a cleanse handy. So I'm not going to use this until he lays down those poison debuffs. Now this is going to set him up, Wukong, to be targeted by the Head of Mischief. Because remember, his one skill attacks the enemy with the most buffs. He tried to put up the poison cloud and he couldn't because we got him blocked. Now notice I don't have that strength down, so I'm getting the weaken debuff. Damage will go way down if I don't have any debuffs on these guys. Alright, here we go. Head of Decay. I've been waiting for this guy to come around just so I can talk about him. Now he's going to have them same Mark of the Hydra skill where he's going to be devouring people. Now, his first skill attacks the enemy with the lowest HP and places 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. And then when he's decapitated, it heals all enemy champions by 30% of their max HP, then restores 50% of the max HP of any enemy champion whose max HP has been destroyed. The second skill, Speed of Decay. Removes all debuffs from all heads, then fills the turn meters of all heads by 30%. And The next one, Rotten Ward, removes all debuffs from the head with the lowest HP and then places a life barrier buff on them for 4 turns. The life barrier buff cannot be removed or stolen. And then his Almighty Decay. Whenever an enemy champion is healed, destroys their max HP by 15% of the value of the heal. It could go up to 25% of their max HP, and decreases the damage taken from poison debuffs by 90%, and decreases the damage all Hydra heads take from AoE attacks by 10%, and damage from skills that scale off of enemy max HP cannot exceed 10%, so we're going down the same thing as the rest of them on that. But just remember, this guy is going to cleanse all the heads, except for the ones that are already decapitated. He can't touch any of those debuffs. And also, he's going to put up the life barrier. That's what this says right here. All right. Also, this guy can be provoked. And that's something important to do to him, actually. We got Wrath back again. Now, instead of targeting all these other heads, since Decay's back, I'm going to make him my primary focus to try and get him back out again. Because I don't like the way that he cleanses everyone. We got Blight back again. Now, basically, these 6 heads are all just going to come in and out of here. And the way to remove one that I found is doing a lot of damage to the head once it's been decapitated. Now, if you do a lot of damage to all the heads at once, it's not going to be as effective as, say, that if you have just one guy who's down and you just drop a hammer on him constantly, just dropping a hammer. That's the way that I found to get everyone to leave. All right, so pretty soon I'm going to reset this and let it auto, and we're going to show you a couple of different things on how the computer does it rather than the way that I do it. So you notice that I tried to keep my cleanse back for myself until I had like poisons or leech or something down, and I tried not to touch this unless that was in effect. So that's one difference that you'll see that I do rather than what the computer is going to do. Another one is with my veil here. I'm not going to put that down if this guy isn't in there, or if he is in there, I'm going to put that down immediately if I can. For Wukong, if it is all the heads are busted, I'm not going to lay down the block debuffs because it's not going to be any point at that point in time. And as you see, I don't really use Rathalos' A3 a lot. I tend to stick with the A1 and the A2. And the reason for that is I want to try and get my decreased defense down on these Hydra heads. And if not, I'm going to hit it with the A2. And I'm going to try and make sure that every time that I land the A2, it's either going to be an off one or it's going to come up where the A2 is going to be on the 5th skill, where it's going to do the big AoE. All right, so let's look at how I have the auto tune set up here. So for UDK, I have him set where he can just do whatever he wants. Mithrala, we're going to focus on the hexing. We're going to let her do whatever she wants with the cleansing. Tatura, we're going to let him do whatever he wants. And Rathalos, we're going to prioritize that A2. Artak, we're going to start off with the A3 and then go A2. And with Wukong, we're going to prioritize the A3. All right, here we go. All right, we got the hex down, we got the block debuffs down, or block buffs down. We got ourselves on Veil. HP burns down. Now most of them have a provoke. We got some poisons up. And Mithrala didn't clear. So that's one like difference on what I would do personally than the AI's out of tune. Alright, so we're going to let it auto this time and pay attention to how Mithrala is going to use her cleanse and how Tatura is going to use the shield, the veil, and the block debuffs and shield, or increased defense. I already had to do this a couple times because people keep dying really, really quick because the auto is being stupid. So I'm a little bit frustrated. But we're going to let people do what they want to do up until the point of either someone getting eaten or a decapitation. See, Mithrala should have cleansed when those poisons came up. We got all four heads decapitated. Be interested to see which ones come back as which. We got the Torment head back. We got Mischief back. We got Blight back. And we got Wrath back. Alright, we freed Wrathy. Everything's looking kind of decent right now. But as you can see, when I was manualing, people didn't lose that much health. And Rathalos is a little bit close to dying right now. It's also something that didn't happen when I was manualing. They didn't get none of my buffs. $1.5 million damage from Rathalos right there. It was a big hit. She definitely should have cleansed. We got the suffering head back. Got that pain link on here on Rathalos. Watch out for that. That will cause a lot of damage. Got Wrath back. Like them 700k hits from Rathalos and the 1.5 million that he had. Definitely helps build up the damage. Approaching 33 million. And as you can see, the AI wasn't even playing it right. So damage could have been way up. But it's about to be enough for a Hydra Clash box. So, I mean, can't complain too much, right? So we got the Decay head back. Remember, we need to watch out for when they remove the buffs and when they put the life shields on. This is definitely going to be the head to start targeting. Especially now with it coming up on one turn, he's going to try to cleanse. If I can get the provoke on him, it'll be okay. No, he removed all the debuffs. Here we go, got a provoke on him and it's too late. We got the Decay head back out of there, so that's not going too bad. I'll be honest, I wasn't going to keep the auto key, but I mean, it's already over getting the Hydra Clash box, and we're approaching my personal best, so might as well keep it. Let's hope that we can get a decent amount more going, though. We definitely want to make sure that we watch out in case the decay head comes back. If not, we still want to stay away from the Wrath and target the Blight head or Suffering head. Either one of those are acceptable. Oh, we just lost Hatura. I kind of expected about 200 we'd start losing people, but it's okay. We're definitely over my personal best now. We got the decay head back. Better watch out for that one again. Man, that 300% hit hurt bad. You're just gonna go on an eating spree now. That's okay. 60 million damage. That's my best, so I'm keeping that. We got 20 million damage from Rathalos, 2 million from UDK, almost 9 million from Mithrala, about 7 million from, or 6.5 million from Wukong, 16.7 from Artak. Pretty decent numbers. Respectable. Alright, well, if you like this video, why don't you go ahead and give me a like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.